Hey guys, Brett Legassi here for SportsAlt.com. I am the Dolphins content promoter. I did a little poll to see which position you guys wanted me to break down first, and a large part was cornerbacks. So here we go with the cornerbacks. So the first corner I want to talk about is Byron Maxwell, obviously, since he's the only veteran on the team. 29 years old. Obviously has the most experience. He's the only one with the Super Bowl ring in the secondary, so it is nice to have a guy that comes from that pedigree. The Seattle Seahawks definitely have some good coaching in the secondary. You got to play with Richard Sherman, so he came along strong last year when they moved him to a press man instead of an off man. When he was able to bump and run, showed pretty good poise and ability. He also showed leadership and toughness at the end of the year against the Steelers when he rolled his ankle. I know he wanted to play, but he wasn't able to play, although he did push and did try, so I do respect that. I do like that. However, so we know he's the incumbent number one. Future, we don't know unless he's willing to take a pay cut. We don't know if he's going to stay. Honestly, if he has a good year, I'd like to bring him back another year or two to see if, he can play it, but he's definitely going to take a pay cut. But it doesn't hurt to have a veteran leader. Now, Xavier Howard is the next one. Now, he got hurt after a couple weeks last year, but he came on strong. I loved his aggressiveness, wanting to attack the football, his willingness to match up with anybody. He's not afraid to really match up. He doesn't care. He has a swagger, if you will, or has a confidence, maybe a little too high, maybe, but he's not afraid to gamble. He will attack the football. He's not afraid to tackle. He's got good size at 6'1", which I'm going to talk about size here in a few. And he has the ability to jump with just about anybody for the football. So I really want to see him come back healthy and compete in camp. And he is definitely named to keep an eye out in camp to start again. But he has some competition. The next two guys I'm going to talk about are guys that are going to come in and compete for the number two. And obviously Xavier Howard's going to compete for number two. Tony Lippett, man, he filled in really nicely for Howard last year. The only problem with Lippett is he still has some growing to do. He's still learning the position. And I don't think that's too much of a negative thing, so don't take that the wrong way. He will get better, and he did get better. He started out struggling against A.J. Green, but then again, it's A.J. Green. I mean, easily one of the best receivers in the NFL. So, but as the season went on, he started playing very well. And just last year, and I have the numbers up here, so I'll bring them up as I'm talking. Let's see. We want to bring up Tony Lippett. There we go. Last year, he ended up with 4 interceptions, and he had 2 in one game against the Jets. And he ended up having 2, I believe, against San Diego. We had one of the game-clinching interceptions in the red zone against San Diego, so that was nice. I need to turn the lamp here. It's a little dark. So I think Lippett is definitely, obviously, I think he's the one that's going to compete for the number 2 spot right away. Obviously, he's earned the right to come in and maybe as the favorite to win the number 2. I mean, look at last year. He played very well, so Howard's going to have to take the job back from him, but I really think Howard might. But I think there might be a timeshare at corner. So now Walt Aikens got moved to corner. He's played safety, free safety, and strong safety, which I think is out of position. Yes, he's 6'1", 218, so that by size, you may say, yeah, well, he's a safety. I mean, but no, he's a corner. He's athletic. He's definitely earned the right to compete at corner, being that he played really well in special teams last year. He had a block punt, extra point return for a 2-point conversion. I mean, he had some plays last year, and he was all over the field on special teams as a gunner, and with the size he has, if you notice, Byron Maxwell 6'1", Xavier Howard 6'1", Tony Lippett 6'3", Walt Aikens 6'1", Cordrea Tankersley, get to him in a second, he's 6'1". There's a prototype for the outside receiver for the secondary, and this defense is very similar to what Mike Zimmer ran, so to speak, and that defense loves to go with tall corners. So they don't. Mike Zimmer's been said he doesn't like guys under 5'11" or under 6 foot because they're going to get beat over their head. And so Walt Aikens has the athletic ability, has explosive ability, and definitely can go up after the football. And I think he can get some more playing time at corner, a lot more than he can safety. But his experience at safety at least says that, hey, in a pinch, if we need him, he can back up the safety. That leads me to the last outside corner. Notice I'm going outside in. Cordrea Tank Kersley. When we drafted him, or the Dolphins drafted him, I was not overly excited. I didn't hate the pick, but I wasn't over ecstatic like I was with Raekwon McMillan and Charles Harris. At first, I said he should have been drafted in the 4th. I still had him as a grade in the 4th round. After doing a little more digging, a little more watching, I can be okay with him in the 3rd. I still think he's right about a 4th round pick. However, athletically, he's got the straight line speed. He's definitely tall and long. Again, 6'1", 200. But he is uninterested in tackling, which that's going to have to change. I watched a couple plays with him. He just didn't even try. Just kind of bounced off the running back. And that was just, it was ugly. It was Ohio State's running back. He just bounced right off of him. Didn't even attempt to tackle him. And then I did the same thing against Alabama. And, you know, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Bills, all three are going to want to run the football. And especially the Bills and Patriots, they're going to run the football. They're not afraid to. And the Jets are definitely not afraid to run the football. Or the Bills, are not afraid to run the football. So he's going to step up there. Now, where I like him is he's very good at press man. I watched him against Virginia Tech. And he opened up his hips, played off coverage, and Isaiah Thomas, the Dolphin receiver, so it's ironic, torched him. He gave him the inside leverage, and Tank Kersley could not recover and gave him too many yards. But what I did love about him is when he squared up with Bucky Hodges outside, he didn't allow Hodges much at all. He played very well against a bigger receiver who's actually quite a bit taller than him. So I really like what he did against a big receiver. I really like him squared up with the line of scrimmage where he can get hands-on. So that's really where I want to see him play, more squared up a line of scrimmage, just like Maxwell and Howard play, and I think they will. Howard obviously has the ability to play back more, but Maxwell and Tank Kersley are guys who are going to have to square up. So I think Tank Kersley is going to learn more from Maxwell, and I think Howard, from what I see from him and Aikens, they're going to be the guys that they can use to play off coverage and explode forward towards the ball. Those two are very similar in that aspect. So Tank Kersley should play more of a Byron Maxwell role where he can play off, while Lippett, Aikens, and Howard can play more of the off coverage, and Maxwell and Tank Kersley play press. I think I said that backwards the first time. Maxwell and Tank Kersley are going to square up and play press. That's how I envision them. Good thing about Tank Kersley, yes, he's raw. Yes, he needs to be coached up more. Yes, he needs a little bit more work, but he doesn't have to play. The secondary is finally a deep, talented group. It's a lot of youth, but it's talented, and it's deep, and that is exciting, actually, especially in this division. So let's go inside the nickel. Now, I did that for a reason, because I do believe in the NFL there is a nickel back position. There is a slot corner position, whatever you want to call it. There is an inside corner position, and not every corner can play it, especially the corners Miami has. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that are over 6 foot tall that are probably not going to be able to flip their hips in coverage as well as a little bit shorter guys. So those guys are fantastic outside. There's a timeshare rotation outside, which will keep your corners fresh from getting burned at the end of games. But we have 3 guys that can compete in the middle, and 2 guys that played well last year at corner or slot in nickel, and that I could think will continue to help. So let's start out with Bobby McCain, who is the most well-known nickelback on the team. Now, ESPN and Miami Dolphins and NFL.com have him listed at 5'11". However, when you go to his draft profile, when they do the official measurements, he's 5'9". Now, maybe they listen to 5'11" because he thinks he's 5'11". He thinks he's a big safety because he's not afraid to hit. He's not afraid to tackle, and I love that about him. He's a feisty little dude. He's scrappy and possibly has the highest confidence on the team. When you consider size, I mean, yeah, Howard's real confident. He's calm, collected, but man, this McCain, he is really collected. Coming out of Memphis, out of the small school, he's been on the Dolphins for a couple years, and he's got burned a couple times, especially with the outside in moves. But he's getting better. He's doing better by getting hands on and disrupting routes early, and against New England and against just about every team now. Everybody has a slot receiver nowadays, so it's going to definitely help to be able to have a guy that matchups in the slot that gets aggressive, and he's one of them. Then there's Michael Thomas, who's one of my favorites. He can play safety. He's played safety. He's played it well. He's a sure tackler, and I love that about him in safety. When he filled in for Rashad Jones, he was a sure tackler. I watched him a couple times, especially in the red zone. He was able to come in and fill the hole and tackle like a linebacker. So at 5'11", 193, he's one of my favorites. He plays the slot well. He is more comfortable as a nickel corner, which is what he said. He feels at home as a nickel, which is fantastic. He's depth at safety. Right now they have Nate Allen. They have Rashad Jones. And I think Michael Thomas and Walt Aikens may shadow back there here and there. However, I think Michael Thomas' best position is nickel, and he's even said it himself. He's not an outside guy, and having a couple guys that can play nickel is not a bad thing, especially against New England, so let's keep that in mind. But I really think, plus he's a leader. Again, he's a willing special teamer. Again, the same thing with Tank Kersley, Walt Aikens. Those guys are willing to play special teams, and they've done well on special teams. So the same thing goes to Michael Thomas. And remember, he had that game-winning interception against New England a couple years ago. So he's a guy that usually plays pretty well. He's one of those guys that's good, that plays pretty well at every position, but is not going to stand out, not going to be an elite player. But, hey, he's a nice piece to have. And I think he's definitely going to be a guy that's probably going to be the starting nickel, I think, over McCain. You heard that here first. I think Michael Thomas may get more time in the slot than McCain, but I think, again, that's going to be a little bit of a timeshare. And, sometimes a lot of these teams like to go four wide. So, but McCain and Thomas should be able to match up against the running backs that New England has, and Edelman and Amendola and all that. So, Jordan Lucas is a guy, is the last one I'm really going to talk more in depth about, because he was a safety at Penn State his last year, but he was a corner and for 2 years, and he was nothing flashy, nothing fantastic. He's a special teamer right now, but he's a slot corner, I think, at best, because he's quicker than fast. He's better laterally than he is vertically. He tackles more like a corner than he does a safety, but he's not a terrible tackler. He is willing to tackle, so that's a good thing, but it doesn't bring the wood when he tackles. So 6'2", 204, you expect the guy to tackle a little better. But I think he can. He's still stronger, but I think he still can tackle. He is a guy that should be able to learn how to get physical at the line of scrimmage. It's more or less learning the right tools to use, not so much about learning how to be physical, because he's physical. He just doesn't use the right tools at the line of scrimmage. So I think he's a guy that can compete at nickel and possibly get some more playing time. He doesn't really have a whole lot of competition coming in, but he is a guy that I think can play nickel, especially as a depth player. But I don't want to say he's a guaranteed roster lock at all. And then there's some names to keep an eye out on. A.J. Hendy, who made the team last year. He's 6'2", outside corner from Maryland. Definitely keep an eye out on A.J. Hendy and Lafayette Pitts. It's easy to remember what school he went to in Pittsburgh, Lafayette Pitts. It's pretty cool, I think. I like quirky stuff like that. Leave me be, all right? He's 5'10", 196. He's more of a slot guy than he is going to be an outside guy. So Lafayette Pitts is a guy that, and he did play some outside, but he's a guy that can easily make the team with a good camp. And I think a guy like Jordan Lucas could be just axed. Since Lucas hadn't shown much and Pitts has shown to be able to play special teams, play inside and out. And again, A.J. Hendy, just keep an eye on him at 6'2", 209. He's played pretty well for the Dolphins in spot duty. He's played in training camp, and I think he actually has a chance to compete and have actually a legitimate shot to make the team. Then you got some rookies, undrafted guys, Maurice Smith, Tony McTire, or Torrey McTire. Neither guy are really big names, probably depth guys, so for me, the guys I've mentioned in depth are ones to keep an eye on. I think A.J. Hendy and Lafayette Pitts are two guys that could make the team and push a guy like Jordan Lucas out, or a guy like even Bobby McCain possibly if Pitts has a good camp. But let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 corners. I doubt they're going to keep that many. Some are going to go to practice squad. So they might keep that many. It just depends on how things end up playing out for them. But I think they'll keep they probably will keep these 8. And the reason I say that is because Michael Thomas and Walt Aikens can be listed as safety as well. So while they're keeping 8 corners, and you can take that and think, well, it's 8 corners, but technically 2 of them are safety and corner, so they're depth at both positions. So that's probably how they'll do it, especially with McDonald being suspended for the first 8 games. So that's it for me, guys. I'll pass my time, so thanks for watching. Let me know what you want, what position you want next, and I'll get a video out. Thanks for your time, guys.